The Jeep Wrangler has built a reputation as one of the toughest, most reliable off-roaders ever made, but buried in its history are 5 model years that turned the ownership dream into a financial nightmare. These specific years are plagued by catastrophic electrical failures that left owners stranded, engine defects that drained bank accounts, and safety recalls that put lives at risk. If you're shopping for a used Wrangler and accidentally buy one of these years, you're signing up for thousands in unexpected repairs and constant trips to the mechanic. Therefore, make sure to check out the 5 worst years of the Jeep Wrangler you need to avoid at all costs. Number 5. 2007 model year. The 2007 Wrangler carries a dangerous distinction. It's the first-year model of the completely redesigned JK generation. With 1,395 NHTSA complaints and 10 recalls stacked against it, this debut model established a pattern of reliability failures that would haunt Jeep owners for the better part of a decade. The electrical system is where things start falling apart. Imagine you're driving home from work when suddenly your horn starts blaring on its own, your windshield wipers activate without warning, and your dashboard lights begin flickering. That's the nightmare scenario when the totally integrated power module fails, and in 2007 Wranglers it fails often. This component controls everything from your fuel pump to your headlights, and when it goes haywire, diagnosing the problem becomes an expensive guessing game. Mechanics will tell you it's the battery, then the alternator, then the fuel pump, racking up hundreds in unnecessary repairs before discovering the real culprit. The 3.8-liter V6 engine paired with the 42 RLE automatic transmission lacked adequate power for the heavier JK chassis, creating severe thermal stress that led to chronic transmission overheating. The 2007 Wrangler ranked in the top 10% for depreciation among all SUVs from that year, signaling that buyers understood they were looking at expensive recurring repair bills. But if you think the 2007 model's electrical chaos was problematic, the following year took every single one of those issues and amplified them to catastrophic levels. Number 4. 2008 model year. If the 2007 model established the JK generation's reliability problems, the 2008 model year perfected them into a symphony of mechanical chaos. This stands as the absolute peak of owner complaints for any post-2000 Wrangler, accumulating a staggering 1,515 NHTSA complaints. That's historically catastrophic for a vehicle that's supposed to represent rugged reliability. The TIPM failures reached epidemic proportions in 2008 models. Because this module controls the fuel pump relay, its failure creates a diagnostic nightmare where mechanics end up replacing batteries, alternators, and fuel pumps before discovering the real culprit. Each misdiagnosis costs hundreds of dollars, and even after the TIPM is finally identified and replaced, the factory replacement units often fail again, trapping owners in an expensive cycle of recurring electrical gremlins. The 3.8-liter V6 engine brings its own set of horrors. Think about what it means to own a vehicle where you need to check the oil level every few days. Some owners report adding half a quart every 650 miles, which is more frequent than most people check their tire pressure. While Jeep claimed this fell within acceptable tolerances, miss just one oil check during a busy week, and you're risking catastrophic engine failure and a 5-figure repair bill. The automatic transmission thermal management was so severely flawed that NHTSA launched an investigation. The resulting recall installed a hot oil warning message, but that only alerts you to overheating. It doesn't fix the underlying design flaw. You're essentially driving with a temperature alarm that tells you the transmission is cooking itself but provides no actual solution to prevent the damage. Then there's the airbag clock spring assembly recall, which means your driver's airbag might not deploy in a crash. With an above-average annual repair cost of $627 and multiple critical safety recalls, the 2008 Wrangler represents the worst possible combination of expense and risk. So the early JK years were defined by electrical nightmares and underpowered engines, but surely Jeep eventually fixed these problems, right? Well, they tried, and somehow managed to create an entirely new catastrophe in the process. Number 3. 2012 model year. In 2012, Jeep finally replaced the anemic 3.8-liter V6 with a powerful 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, dramatically improving performance and fuel economy. Instead of marking redemption, it introduced a catastrophic manufacturing defect that makes this year potentially the most expensive to own. The left cylinder head on the 2012 Pentastar features faulty valve guides on the exhaust valves. When these guides fail, the entire cylinder head requires replacement. The failure progression starts with a subtle ticking noise, escalates to an ignition misfire, and, if ignored, leads to severe internal engine damage requiring complete engine replacement. Jeep acknowledged the severity by extending warranty coverage to 10 years or 150,000 miles through a technical service bulletin. Here's the critical problem: that extended warranty has expired on virtually every 2012 Wrangler still on the road. Consider what this means when you're shopping for a used Wrangler. If the seller can't produce documented proof that the cylinder head was replaced under warranty, you're purchasing a vehicle with a ticking time bomb under the hood. The repair involves removing the entire cylinder head, replacing faulty components, and reassembling the top end, a labor-intensive job that easily runs into thousands of dollars. The transmission system introduces new complications. The electronically controlled 5-speed automatic suffers from delayed engagement when cold and harsh shifting between second and third gears. Ever experienced that moment when you press the accelerator expecting smooth acceleration, but instead the transmission hesitates before suddenly lurching into gear? That jarring sensation is a symptom of faulty shift solenoids or a failing transmission control unit, both requiring expensive diagnosis and repair. At least the 2012 model's problems were primarily mechanical, but there's one year that stands out for a shocking concentration of safety recalls that put occupants in genuine physical danger. Number 2. 2010 model year. The 2010 Wrangler distinguished itself with a staggering 11 safety recalls, the highest recall count of any year on this list. While the 2008 model suffered from electrical chaos, the 2010 model was plagued by defects that posed immediate physical danger to occupants. The most alarming issue involved a genuine vehicle fire hazard. The automatic transmission skid plate was positioned too close to the catalytic converter, allowing road debris to accumulate against the extremely hot surface. The braking system suffered from a critical defect where the brake tube assembly featured an improperly formed end flare. This manufacturing error created the potential for brake fluid loss and dramatically reduced braking performance. Picture yourself approaching a busy intersection, applying the brakes with normal pressure, only to realize the pedal feels softer than it should. That moment of panic, realizing your brakes might fail when you need them most, is exactly what this defect threatened. Most disturbing of all, the 2010 model was exposed to dual airbag failure risks. The clock spring assembly defect meant your driver's airbag might not deploy at all in a collision. Simultaneously, the 2010 was also caught up in the global Takata airbag inflator recalls, where the inflator could explode upon deployment, sending sharp metal fragments into the cabin with potentially fatal results. The sheer volume and severity of mandatory safety recalls reveal quality control that was completely out of control. So we've covered electrical disasters, engine defects, and safety nightmares. But there's one final year that manages to combine all of these problems into the single worst value proposition Jeep has ever produced. Number 1. 2011 model year. The 2011 Wrangler deserves the top spot because it represents the absolute worst value proposition in Jeep's modern history. This model year sits in the unfortunate position of being the final iteration before the 2012 powertrain overhaul, meaning it inherited every systemic reliability problem from 2007 through 2010 without receiving any of the corrective improvements that came later. The 3.8-liter V6 engine remains critically underpowered, making the Wrangler feel heavy and sluggish compared to any contemporary SUV. The excessive oil consumption issue that plagued earlier years continues unabated, requiring constant monitoring to prevent lubrication starvation and the catastrophic engine failure that follows. The 42RLE 4-speed automatic transmission is notorious for failed or delayed gear shifts, particularly during the critical first to second and third to fourth transitions. What makes this particularly frustrating is that these transmission failures often occur without triggering a check engine light, leaving you and your mechanic hunting for problems with no diagnostic guidance. When technicians finally identify the root cause, they frequently discover the engine control unit is responsible for the shift timing errors, requiring a costly ECU replacement that can easily exceed $1,000. The electrical architecture dating back to 2007 means the 2011 model retains full susceptibility to TIPM failure. As these vehicles age, the risk of component corrosion increases, potentially leading to intermittent fuel pump failures or complete lighting system malfunctions. All in all, the period between 2007 and 2012 represents a dark chapter in Wrangler history, where electrical chaos, underpowered engines, and critical safety defects created a perfect storm of reliability nightmares. The 2008 holds the record for owner complaints, the 2011 combines every unfixed problem into one package, the 2012 hides an expensive cylinder head time bomb, the 2010 threatens with dangerous safety recalls, and the 2007 started it all. The good news is that later JK models from 2013 onward offer the off-road capability you want without the financial disaster these years represent. Things with other popular models on the used market aren't much different, including the most popular pickup trucks. If you're in the market for a used F-150, make sure to check out our video about its worst years. Ford's full-size truck is generally a very reliable vehicle, but some model years turned out to be quite problematic.